Good evening, Pastor John. My name is Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Thank you for the sermon this morning. That was very helpful.
Oh, you're welcome.
On contentment, yeah. I was confronted with something 4 days ago concerning Grace Community Church.
Mm-hmm.
A fellow that I've known for 20 years, not a professing Christian, but he tells me he's always told me he has a strong prayer life. And
Wonder who he's talking to.
Well, first words out of his mouth, he said that we are concerned about you. So there's more than one of people
about
that I know.
You or me?
About me.
Oh, about you.
Yeah, he's concerned about me. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, we know you go to Grace Community Church and you do not wear a mask. And they basically told me that they're all of a sudden, after this couple of years of COVID, all of a sudden they're telling me that, and whoever else there was involved, because he said, we are concerned. So they're in fear about being around me. One of the guys, he said, he wanted to tell me that he won't even come over to my house now all of a sudden because of that. And it was shocking to me, and I didn't know how to respond to that or how to answer that in a proper way.
Well, let me help you with that, Bill.
That's what I'm hoping.
Hebrews, we're talking about Hebrews, but Hebrews chapter 2 says, the devil holds men captive to the fear of death all their life long. If you tell people they can die from something, you terrify them if they have no hope. If they don't know what death means or where they're going, that is the worst possible thing that they can think of. That is why death is called the king of terrors. And you can take something like a virus that will be fatal to 0.1% of a population, 99.9% will survive it, and you can terrify that entire population by just saying it could kill you. Because the fear of death is a gripping fear in the life of every person. And the devil holds them in bondage to that fear. And it is the fear of death. You have to understand, this is how people control other people. The threat of death is the highest way to exercise control over someone. And with the current core of world leaders and government leaders wanting to take control of everyone, they have chosen the most powerful thing they can choose, and that's fear. And that's fear. So I think if I were talking to a friend like that, I would say, would you like to be delivered from that fear? Would you want to have absolutely no fear of death? Would you like to welcome death as a friend? Would you like to be able to say, for to me to live is Christ and to die is gain? Would you like to live without any fear of death, rather anticipating it for what lies beyond in the glories of heaven? I would just go from there to the gospel. He's already set up for that. You're explaining something that's happening to all of us. I was walking in a See's candy store to buy some candy for Patricia, and I came out of the store and I didn't have a mask on, and there was a lady probably nearly my age or close, and she's 10 feet away from me, and she yelled at me, "Sir, what are you, I'm bringing See's candy to my wife. This is a mission of mercy." And she yells at me and says, "Where's your mask?" And I realized this poor lady is terrified. She's afraid of death. This may be the best time in all our lives to confront people with the fact that Christ removes that fear, right? I mean, that's the message. I can't think of a better setup. Look, we're all trying to figure out this COVID, but I had an article I was going to just mention, so you allowed me to bring it up. This just came out of a combination of reports, and I've followed these now for all this last year and a half. This is from the CDC, the White House COVID team, and some important epidemiologists at Harvard. And here is the conclusion, and this is this week. There is no discernible relationship between the percentage of population vaccinated and new COVID cases. Did you hear that? There is no relationship between the percentage of people vaccinated and new COVID cases. It goes on to say, the lack of meaningful association between percentage population fully vaccinated and new COVID cases is demonstrated by many, many studies. This is a quote. There is no significant signaling of COVID-19 cases decreasing with higher percentage of population fully vaccinated. What is that? They're making everybody be vaccinated and it has nothing to do with the cases of COVID. A deeper dive, the article says, shows that the most vaccinated countries have the highest transmission, according to the CDC. The lowest rate of vaccinated countries have the lowest rate of transmission. It is completely the opposite of what you're being told. So I'm not arguing for or against vaccination. That's something you can decide for yourself. But what this is about, trying to make people afraid. I'll say this, and I'm speaking as one who has read everything I could get my hands on for the last year and a half. Nothing stops COVID. Nothing. Not masks, not double masks, not triple masks, not social distancing. Nothing stops COVID. It's like trying to keep flies out of your yard with a chain link fence. This is a microscopic virus. Nothing stops COVID. It goes where it wants to go. And it's very dangerous to people who have other illnesses, as we know. But the attempt now to vaccinate 5-year-olds when there is an inverse correlation between vaccination and incidence of COVID, the very opposite of what they're saying, is beyond imagination. So what all of this demonstrates is that people can be manipulated so easily if you tell them they might die. And we're here to say, first of all, you're not likely to die from COVID. But the death rate, I want to remind you what the death rate is. 1 per person. Yeah, might not be COVID, but you'll have 1 death. The important thing is that you not have 2. The second death, right? We need to be joyful. We need to be content. We need to be loving, kind, gracious. And we also need to tell people that the Lord gives salvation that takes out the fear of death, right? Okay? Thanks, Bill.
Yep.